So you've been going to the gym, doing your workouts, but you're not gaining any muscle or building any strength. And this can be very demotivating and frustrating, but don't despair. I'm going to give you 5 tips on how you can improve your approach to training and start making some gains, start building some muscle and some strength. Okay, tip number 1, make sure you're logging your lifts. This might not seem that important, but it really is. You're not going to be able to remember the exact amount of reps, the exact amount of weight for every single exercise and all the different circumstances. And I would say it's probably especially more important as you get older. Building muscle in your 40s and 50s and beyond is going to be a lot harder than building muscle in your 20s and 30s. So you really need to dial in as much as you possibly can to make the most out of your workouts. So every single extra rep that you do, every single extra bit of weight that you put on, this is going to be vital for you to build muscle. And this is why you need to log your lifts. Write it down if you're analog like me, or if you're digital, you can use an app. Okay, so from there, once you've logged your lifts, so your reps, the weight, rest times, how many sets, the exercises that you're doing, use that as your starting point, and then from there, do the same exercises, just try and increase your reps, your weight. Even one more rep is an improvement. An extra kilogram on the bar for the same amount of reps, again, is also an improvement. Half a kilogram. As long as you're increasing something over time, you know that you're building some muscle. And even an extra half a rep is an increase as well. So don't be discouraged by that if you're only doing an extra half a rep. If it's more than what you've done before, it's all good. And as you start seeing your progress, because you've written it down, this is going to keep you motivated to keep going. This is progressive overload, doing more than what you've done before, and it's essential for building muscle, or building more muscle than what you already have. Tip number 2, try different rep ranges. Generally speaking, anything up to 6 to 8 reps is more for strength, and to say 8 to 20 reps is more for building muscle. This doesn't mean that you won't build muscle doing less than 8 reps, you will, but I think 8 to 20 reps is kind of a sweet spot. And you're more likely to make an increase in a higher rep range than you are in a lower rep range with a heavier weight. So if you're generally doing 8 to 12 reps, for example, just lower the weight a little bit, maybe do 18 to 20 reps. And make sure that you're training close to failure as well. If you can do 20 reps and you're only doing 15, it's not really training hard enough. If you're not pushing yourself, there's no reason for your muscles to grow. The amount of muscle you have on your body is the amount of muscle your body needs for the different circumstances that you put it under. So train close to failure, leave 1 or 2 reps in the tank. If you're training on your own and you're doing a bench press and you don't have access to a rack with like safety bars, I don't recommend going to failure. You don't want to get stuck. Same with like squats. But you can get close to failure, leave 1 or 2 reps in the tank, and then you'll be training hard enough to train hard and train smart. Tip number 3, you can try different training techniques like drop sets, for example, myo reps. So drop sets, you do your set, then take some weight off the bar, do a few more reps. You're overloading your muscle doing that. Myo reps, do a set to failure, rest a few seconds and try and do 3 or 4 more reps. You can rest another few seconds, same again. Myo reps can be quite good if you want to save a bit of time, and you get rid of a lot of the junk reps. If you're doing 15 reps, the first 10 reps aren't really doing a lot, are they? To be honest, it's the last few reps that are really working the muscle. Once you've done your first set and you rest a few seconds to do a few more reps, those few more reps are going to be quite hard. So it's quite a useful technique. You can try pyramid sets. I'm currently doing some descending pyramid sets. So for example, set 1, 10 reps with a certain amount of weight. Take off like the bench press, take off 5 kilograms. I'll rest about 3 minutes. Do another 10 reps, and then rest another 3 minutes. Another 10 reps, taking off another 5 kilos. And I'll do that for like 4 sets. And I'm just doing these on compound exercises, which will be my first exercise in each session. And if you don't know what compound exercises are, they're just exercises that use multiple muscles and multiple joints, like a bench press, a squat, deadlift. And isolation exercises where you're just using the one joint and the one muscle group, like a bicep curl, tricep extension, or leg extensions. Tip number 4, it's another kind of training technique. It's called step loading, or at least my version of it. It's a form of periodization. You do a 4-week cycle. So week 1 is low intensity, high volume. So in other words, a lighter weight but a lot of reps. Then week 2, you increase the weight, so you increase the intensity but you lower the volume. So you're doing less reps. Week 3, you increase the weight again. So you increase the intensity and lowering the volume with a heavier weight. And then week 4 just be like a deload week. And then week 5, you just go back to week 1, but you increase the weight and just repeat the same thing again. So you're using all 3 types of skeletal muscle fibers over the different rep ranges and intensity levels. but it's one of the most effective training methods I've used over the years. Now, I wasn't resting every 4 weeks. I was probably doing the cycle twice and then resting. When it comes to having a rest, like a deload week, or whatever you want to do, just based on how you feel. Okay, it's also going to depend on what you do for a living. If you're sitting down all day, not that active, you probably don't need as much recovery time. If you've got a manual job, you're on your feet all the time, you're probably going to need to have a lot more recovery time. So just based on how you feel, if you feel okay, just keep going. If you feel tired, make sure you have a rest. You know, when you get older, things take longer to heal. Not just your muscles, your tendons, joints, for example, your central nervous system as well. You know, that needs a break as well. You know, if you have systemic fatigue, you're not going to be at peak performance. So just keep an eye on that. Okay, tip number 5, you're going to make sure that you're patient. It takes a long time to build muscle, especially when you get older. You've obviously got a lot less testosterone. You definitely don't want to give up because you're not seeing progress straight away. Like I said on the first tip, that's why it's really important to log your lifts. You'll be able to actually see that you're making progress. Okay, even if you can't see it in the mirror, if your reps are going up, the weight's going up, you know you're doing something. So make sure you're patient with it. Try and stick to the main core exercises for building muscle. Your bench press, squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, bent over rows, lat pull downs, stuff like that. These are your compound lifts. They're going to build the most amount of muscle. The amount of time you spend in the gym, you want to make the most amount of gains. So patience is key. Train hard with good nutrition. And just a regular diet is fine. You don't need to overcomplicate your diet. You know, and obviously when you see a lot of these celebrities, you know, on social media, they've put on 40 pounds of muscle in 6 months or something silly like that. You've got to bear in mind, you know, number one, they haven't put on 40 pounds of muscle in 6 months. No one's doing that. They might be 40 pounds heavier. They haven't put on 40 pounds of muscle. You know, professional bodybuilders can't do that. So, you know, I don't think these celebrities are doing it. Bear in mind all the lighting and everything else that goes on with it when they post these photographs and all that kind of stuff. You know, I don't think it's a good thing for regular people that are trying to build muscle and they see these people looking like that. It sets unrealistic expectations. It's certainly not realistic naturally. Don't use celebrities as your benchmark. It's unrealistic. Use yourself. How did you do last week? How are you going to do next week and the week after and the week after that? You know, and over 6 months, you know, look back over 6 months, see how you're getting on. You know, there could be a whole bunch of reasons why you're struggling to build in the muscle. You know, genetics play a huge part in it as well. But hopefully these tips will help you out. And if you have any tips of your own that you think can help other people, just put them in the comment section below. I'm sure we'd all appreciate it. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next video. Bye bye.